Let me go ahead and get started. Um, I want to be mindful of the time. I do want to honor the fact that you all have decided to be a part of this group and also maximize the hour that we have. Our hope is that you won't see it as an hour, that it'll feel like it went really fast, and that you'll be like, "I wish this was longer." And I know that does not the case for most meetings that we probably have to go to or involved in. It's like, when will it end? But I'm here with an amazing collection of folks that are really have helped I think, put together an agenda and a conversation that we hope that over the course of this year and next will really engage you, empower you, and equip you with the ability to dream. I want to first start by saying welcome, 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 welcome. We're inviting you to a conversation, but it's hopefully not one that you have not already started in some ways, if no with no one else besides yourself. That doesn't mean that you're going crazy or anything. It does mean that that we are all in a space and place that I believe where we're trying to figure out what's next. We're trying to figure out what are the next steps, what are the things that we need to do in this moment. And regardless of who you are, what you do, what campus, what size, we are in a time in which everyone is trying to figure out things. And sometimes the best way forward is not necessarily knowing the answers, but asking the right questions. So I want to sit that with you for some time. So this is kind of going to be a different group. We welcome the new folks that may be coming on that are with trucking, folks that may be with Campus Compact. Some folks maybe were just intrigued. There's some folks talking about dreaming, and maybe you just lucked up and someone sent you a link and you decided to come hang out with us for an hour. Whatever the case may be, some of you may have been voluntold to come be a part of the session. But whatever it is, we're thankful that you decided to be with us this afternoon on a Monday to start out your week talking about dreaming. The Dream Lab is really, as the description talked about, an opportunity for us to open up space and place for us to think about the questions and think about the ideas, think about the strategies. And really, it's not about what is as much as what if. Let me say that again. It's not so much about what is, but what if. What if we thought about things different? What if we decided to think about things in a different perspective? And that we hope that that opportunity to be in conversation with each other over the course of these several sessions will open up the opportunity for us to really do some very imaginative and thought provoking uh, thinking as well as conversation that will lead to hopefully some material changes on the ground in our respective communities and universities. But with that being said, I want to take a moment and let the folks that have my partners in dreaming, as I would like to call them, that are helping facilitate the conversation, give them a chance to introduce themselves, their institutions, before we continue on with the rest of our agenda today. So thank you, thank you, thank you. I am James Rowland, and I'm the Senior Director for the Center for Civic and Community Engagement at Emory University, and I could not be more excited than to be with you today. So with that being said, I'll turn it over to Maurice and the rest of our facilitators.
Awesome. Good afternoon, everybody. So happy to have you all here and to be with you today. My name is Marie Smith. I am the Associate Director at the Center for Public Service at Tulane University. And again, really excited to be here with you today. And I will popcorn it over to my colleague, Agnishka.
Yeah, hi everybody. I thought it was such a lovely welcome, James, and I'm super happy to be here with everybody. Agnieszka Nins, you can see the spelling and the pronunciation of my name if that's easier for everybody. I also work at Tulane. I'm the executive director of CPS, and I pass it on to Adam.
Afternoon, everybody. Adam Gizmondi, Senior Director of the Democratic Knowledge Project at the Harvard Graduate School of Education. Um, Wonderful to be here with you all and to carry this forward for another year. Yeah, I think James kind of said it all, and we'll get into some more stuff shortly.
Well, wonderful. Um, and thank you for each and every one of you. So, this is what we're going to do. We like to talk as much as we like to talk. We like to have you all talking. I think y'all are probably some of most thoughtful and engaging people in all United States, but we got to put proof, make that happen. So what we're going to do is we're going to break up into some breakout groups. And this could, you want to give people a little synopsis of that, and then we'll break out into those groups.
Absolutely. Thanks, James. So I know that a lot of us maybe have a little hesitation before any sort of breakouts, introductions, et cetera, et cetera. But since we're dreaming in community, we thought that community building is very important. And it's very important to us to set up the tone. So we're not tone deaf. We understand that a lot of stuff is happening. But today we're really focusing on dreaming, and we want to flip it a little bit. So in your smaller groups, we would love to just simply ask you to introduce yourself. So your role, the school, region, whatever you feel like it's pertinent. But the most important part is if you could share one moment of joy or excitement. So just think about in this school year, for some of us that's been, already a few weeks, for some of you just a few days maybe. But just think about one highlight, like a positive moment of joy or excitement. I put it in the chat, and we're going to have about 8 minutes for those introductions. And if later on somebody wants to share like something really absolutely phenomenal happened, either put it in the chat or share with us when we come back.
So now we got, not only did we get everybody back from the first part, we got some extra people. So, man, we are growing in numbers at this rate. We're gonna keep expanding the Zoom room here. This is great to see that we didn't lose anybody. Everyone still wants to dream, so that's great. Kudos to everybody. We didn't run anybody away. Well, as I was saying earlier, if you would like to put one of the things that you shared as joy in this moment, excitement that you have in the chat, that'll be great. Either something you said or either one of your colleagues said. That would be awesome. Other people can benefit from what you may have joy that you are experiencing. Not to put too much praise, but group two was really awesome, y'all. They were really awesome. They were really, really awesome. Just guess what group I was in. But we really had some thought-provoking conversation. I love how we got to talk about how joy is something that David talked about it being something he talks about all the time, and so we really got to dive into seeing how our students and others that we work with are experiencing that despite all the challenges. So, um, well, thank you all for that part. What I do want to just take a moment before I pass it to my colleague Adam is talk a little bit at this point about the purpose that we have with this particular group. Um, and I think that's always important to kind of like, what are we trying to accomplish? What are we trying to do? And I think the description provides some really good insight. One of the things that we're trying to do is make sure that we open up space. A lot of times in the work that we do, we're doing it in a very reactionary mode. We're doing it looking at what exists before us. Whereas we have an opportunity here with this group of folks in these sessions to really think about the what if, as I alluded to earlier. This is an opportunity for us to be able to think outside the box. It's an opportunity for us to pose questions that we may not get a chance to do in other contexts. So really opening up space. And I think all of us would say as community builders, space is important. I don't think anybody would debate me on that as a former debater, but I'll be up to the challenge. But I would say that opening up space is so very important because we think that signifies that there is some purpose, there's some meaning in that. The other thing is that dreaming can lead to greater creativity. That when we dream and dream collectively as well as individually, it gives us an opportunity to be more creative. And what we hope and what we believe is that these sessions will provide us an opportunity to hear something that maybe we hadn't heard before, and maybe we've heard it before, but maybe we haven't heard it that way. And that will lead to us thinking about solutions, thinking about problems in different ways that hopefully can lend us to being more creative. So that's two things. The third thing that I would just say is that we believe dreaming is key to hope. Dreaming is key to hope. As one of my colleagues said a while back, my hope is not for sale. A lot of things can be changed, a lot of things can be altered, but I do have some agency and control over engaging in hope. And dreaming can lead to a more hopeful perspective, a hopeful mindset, and hopefully lead to a change in the way in which we do this work and think about this work, because we're not just doing this work for now, we're also doing it for later. And I think all of us can think about the metaphor of a seed. The seed has in it all the things it needs to become, to grow up and be a huge tree or plant or piece of fruit, whatever the case may be, but it starts small. And it needs to be put in the right environment. It needs to be nurtured, it needs to be watered. And so we hope that these conversations can be a seed that can be planted, that can allow for it to grow into something that may lead to more collaborations with one another, may lead to other opportunities to do things. But by and large, that's hopeful. That's part of our purpose. And as you read the description, it really is using a lot of different strategies and techniques. And we encourage, and we talked about maybe creating a repository or Google Drive of some sort where we can share collectively things that we're using. It could be research, it could be podcasts, it could be books, it could be articles, whatever it case may be, things that we can put in our collective toolbox that we can use to build a better future. And so with that, I will turn it over to my colleague Adam to talk about expectations and guidelines.
Thanks, James. And for those of you that were with us last year, I think we had a lot of interesting discussions, but we kind of let the group guide things sometimes. So like if a topic came up where it was like, this is where the conversation went, I think that's like in part the point here. And we'll try to put up guardrails of like trying to push us forward on this and moving towards next spring's Campus Compact conference. But just try to come in with sort of an open mind. And for anyone else who's suffering brain fog right now, like myself, hopefully this group and these meetings are a way to, as James kind of alluded to, like a way to look forward to, something on your calendar too. So in establishing kind of general ground rules for the group, I'll put these in the chat and then I'll invite others to add some too. Here's some that we thought we could start with. So first, what's said here stays here, but what you learn here can leave here. So if you think about that as just kind of, let's look out for one another, but think about the kind of thematic takeaways that we have. We're going to try to keep it a judgment-free zone as we move forward in the conversations. And I think that some of the stuff that we'll talk about will, it'll lend itself to nice open conversation, but I just want to say that. Next up, free to be. Everyone here is free to be. There's no shoulds. So this kind of goes in line with the idea of a judgment-free zone, and kind of being open-minded to one another. Next up is sort of a two-parter. So step up when you're comfortable to do so, but step back to create space for others as well. So we want to make sure that everyone comes with a sense of that their presence here is welcome and invited, and that people feel free to contribute to each and every conversation that we have. And then lastly, curiosity with care. So coming in, like I said, with an open mind, but making sure that you're offering grace to others and care to the conversation as well. So does anyone have anything else that they'd like to add or comments on this? These are just meant as sort of a starting point for us. Well, folks can also feel free to add in thoughts that they have as we go in the chat, which is why we put it there. All right. I guess next we can go to a dreaming exercise. James.
Okay. Well, thank you, Adam. Hopefully those are expectations or guidelines that you feel comfortable with. They seem to work well last year. Don't want to assume that they will. So you definitely feel free to add something Yeah, I look at that. Speaking in draft is okay. I 100% agree. Uh, it doesn't have to be fully baked. Matter of fact, some of my best ideas have come when they've been half baked and then someone else finished baking it for me. Matter of fact, I'm from Louisiana too, y'all, so I may use a lot of food metaphors. So apologies in advance. I'll say, but I will say this. Let's talk a little bit, and we've been breaking out into groups, but let's have a larger conversation about dreaming, um, and just think about, as we think about that as a form of learning, as a form of thinking, as a form of growth. I'm giving you some already kind of giving you the answers to the test already. So when we're thinking about dreaming, what comes to mind when you think about that? And so feel free to get off of mute. I love when folks want to talk, but obviously part of our guidelines. If you don't, that's fine too. But if you feel free, we're all learning and engaging in this conversation together. One of the things I would say, and as people are thinking about sharing, is that this is a starting point, not an ending point. Let me say that again. This is a starting point, not an ending point. We don't see this group as coming up with the definitive answers, but more importantly, helping us think about the possibilities. And as I alluded to earlier, it's not so much the answers as the questions. So, would love to be, what do you think about, or what comes to mind when you think about dreaming, dreaming, dreaming? Shalom. Wonderful.
Well, I think dreaming is the most appropriate response to this moment of crisis. And taking the opportunity to dream, it's like your comment about David and joy. We're so stressed, we're so, feeling the pressure of the moment, but dreaming is like an antidote. And dreaming is the and particularly collectively dreaming is a way to see past the current moment.
Oh, thank you, Shalom. Like a mic drop moment. That was. Who else would like to either piggyback off of that or add to that, share? In addition, what do you think about when you hear the word dreaming? Why is it important? What are mechanisms and thoughts? Janine, I saw you come off mute.
Yeah, I think the thing that I really think about dreaming is that it gives us access to different kinds of information that we have in everyday life. And so a group like this appeals to me because I think it's the opportunity for us to step away from what we're doing so that we can start to access some different ways of thinking and different ways of seeing to bring to our labor and to bring to our relationships and to form responses to everything that's happening right now that are, to the best of our ability, keeping people safe and learning and growing, but also working towards building new futures that look pretty different than what we're coming from right now.
Hmm. Others? Anybody else? What do you think about when you think about dreaming?
Well,
Why is it important? Heidi? Yes.
I think for many of us who work with underserved communities, dreaming is not a luxury, but an expectation, because our communities would not survive if we did not dream. And so, although we're in a chaotic time and a difficult time, and it's very easy to latch on to the fear that is being put out there, working with communities who are accustomed to setback, who are used to being short on resources, who know that to work with one another is the response to actually moving forward. Dreaming is a part of that. It's the only way that we are going to ever move what we want to move. And so I think what I love about Truckin' Campus Compact, all of you folks and the different kinds of engaged work you do, is that it's almost a state of being. It's not that we don't get discouraged, but dreaming is a state of being. And I think that part of what I want to make sure that I nourish in others is to make sure that they can continue to dream.
Wow. Adam, I see your hand raised.
One thing I would say that I think of too, in dreaming in this context especially is, last year in this group, we had conversations about, like there's different ways to do this kind of work. One is to really think long and hard in like historical context. That's important work. And I think a lot of us are sort of mired in present day, like not just today or this month, but like hour by hour, what's happening. And I think that the Dream Lab, like the hope here is that we are carving out intentionally some space in your month and your day to give yourself permission to think outside of the context of the current moment. So like not bound by the stressors and the people that are engaged in our brains right now of like what's happening, but instead to kind of free yourself from that a little bit and think creatively about what kind of future you'd imagine for this work, given those freedoms.
I really admire the work of Adrienne Marie Brown, and she talks about the idea of ethical imagination, and the idea of how can we imagine a future that's different than what we currently have, and how she frames that out of Octavia Butler's work, and which is so creative to begin with, and so I think of dreaming as that space in which we really are able to imagine an ethical future that's different than where we are right now. And then dreams have a logic and a not logic to them. We need that not logic to kind of help push things around a little bit, but the logic to a dream and sequencing, I think, helps us think about any kind of thing, any kind of change we want to engage in, any kind of thing that we want to dream as a possibility. We have to think about what is the activity, what are the action steps that are going to create the kind of systemic change we want to see in the world. So I'm excited to be here.
Got me all excited. You're going to add some new books to people's reading lists. Those are outside of our norm. I don't know if people heard you drop Octavia Butler on it to us. This is great, y'all. This is great. So anyone else? There are many more people that haven't had. I want to make sure we have space for everyone to share if they would like. But these are some wonderful, wonderful comments to get us started on this journey. Okay. Well, this is definitely not the end of us thinking about these. I want you to encourage you to think about that question. What is dreaming? Why is it important? One of the questions I would ask too, as we kind of think about what is stopping you from dreaming? And so as much as we are embraced in this or think the importance of it, what is stopping you from dreaming? Because everyone has talked about, I love what Heidi said, it's a state of being. So what is stopping us from being in this state where we can dream? And I'm sure people say, well, James, I can definitely answer that question. You should have asked that first. I could have gave you 15 answers to that one. But I just want to take a moment, maybe one or two people, answer that question. What is stopping us from dreaming? So we can name that as a way, as we move forward, something that we need to overcome or something that we need to reflect upon. And then afterwards, I'll turn it over to my colleague, Maurice, to take us into our next activity.
I'll jump in. I'm Shan,
Yes.
Emory University. I think what sort of hinders us from dreaming are experiences. I think about children, and when you come into the world, it's, I want a pony, I want a unicorn, like all these, like your dreams are just this wonderful thing. But now the things we dream for have all these parameters and all these different things that we just don't think will happen because of everything we've experienced from childhood to adulthood, whether it's personal, it's professional, governmental. So I think our dreams begin to shift, and in some instances, we become hopeless, faithless. And whenever somebody brings anything like, we could do this, we turn into that person, not that we want to be pessimistic, it's just life has taught us to just be cautious or to not even dream and hope, which is really, really sad. But that's what I think. I think experiences sort of tear us down and the dreams sort of start turning gray and then they disappear.
Thank you, Jan. That was yeah. I won't look at the color gray the same again, but that I appreciate you sharing it. That was really um our experiences. I think we are safe to say does um inform the way in which we dream. And so, us all thinking about that. And I think one of our hopes as I get ready to turn it over is that we will share our experiences because, and that as a result, we'll be stronger and better as a result of sharing these experiences so that we can dream. Sometimes the experiences that we have led us to become pessimistic, as Chan alluded to. But if we hear others people's experience of how they had triumph or overcame, that may give us the courage or give us the capacity to move forward. So thank you for the comments. Thank you for what has been shared. Thank you for those that shared, and thank you for those that listen, because that's just equally as important. With that being said, we'll turn it over to Maurice.
Awesome. Thank you so much, James. That was actually a great dovetail into what I was about to say. So, we are in the dreaming space, and this is what we're asking you to come and do. One of our greatest resources is each other's experiences, just as James has said. For the next 10 minutes or so, what we're going to do is dream in community. And so, we're going to break off into groups. And what I'm going to have you to do is to each of you take about 2 minutes within your small groups to talk about either a community engagement idea you would like to see, or talk about a community engagement project that made you proud because it came to be, or taught you something important. So in these moments that we're going to have, these next 10 moments as community, we're going to talk to each other about what did our dreaming space look like? What was that project that made us proud that it came to be? Or what is something that in this current climate, in this current space, as we need to progress and figure out new ways to be engaged and to move the work forward, what are some things that you would like to see happen or like to see come to be? And you have the opportunity to hear from colleagues as well as get some feedback from colleagues about how that possibly could be. This is an activity, one, again, to build community and to get us into the process of starting to dream about the things that you want to dream about. What is it that you want to see? Again, the floor, the door is open, so there's no, okay, these are the constraints that I have going on right now. We really want you to engage in opening your mind to what could be just because you want to see it. So if we could go ahead and break us off into our groups, and again, take 2 minutes each to talk about one, an idea or an engagement idea that you had that you would like to see come to be, or an idea that you are happy that it came to fruition, and talk about what that taught you. I'm also going to drop this in the chat so that you know what we're talking about.
Good to see everybody back. Not everybody, but this group is we got some early folks come back early. Again, I would encourage you if you are able um, to put in the chat. I think it may only be allowing certain people to put in something in the chat, but if you have one thing that you took away from your group in terms of things that you were dreaming about, it'd be great if you can share that while we wait on others to come back.
All right, we're going to let everybody get back here to the main room. and then we'll continue the conversation. So hopefully everybody had an opportunity to really hear from each other about some of the things that are going on, some of the things that you've dreamt about that came to be, and now you're in a new space where you can dream about what's next. And hopefully you talked about or were able to share about some opportunities where you are wanting to begin the dreaming process, but you kind of need some ideas and space and ways to go about doing that. I would love to hear from anybody who would like to share about something that they either learned in their group or something that they shared with their group.
Um, I, I just want to say, so this was commented on in our group, but I also want to say that what Lauren said really resonated with me too. She talked about, and I wrote it down, she talked about setting up proactive spaces rather than reactive spaces. And that just seems like a really transformative way to build community and to think about how you bring people together. So thank you for sharing that.
Anybody else would like to share? I need more dreaming in my life. Nope, I understand that, David. I understand. So, overall, again, the spaces that we are going to attempt to create and to make available through this series are opportunities for you to do just what we did in the last 10 minutes as a group, as smaller groups, on one-on-ones as much as possible. Feel free to reach out to each other and to find get in contact with each other in terms of like ideas and opportunities as you figure out and see and coming through this series who's maybe in a space at a university in a community space that looks like yours, and maybe you can dream together about some of the things that you want to work on. The biggest thing that I want people to take away from the activity today is that collective wisdom is great and it can do a lot for you in the dreaming space. And so we will try to offer this as much as possible so that you can, one, again, put your ideas out there because it's okay to talk and think and dream and draft. And then having other people to be able to help you along with some of the things that you may be missing or that you haven't seen in the bigger picture as you're trying to pay attention to the small details. So again, thank you for everybody for participating today in our community building dreaming session. And I will turn it back over to James.
Thank you so much, Maurice, and thank you to each and every one of you. I think I'd be remiss if I did not just take a moment to say that with everything that's going on, for you to find an hour in your day to come together with other colleagues from across the country and be in conversation. I don't, none of us take that lightly. And so we just really want to thank you for your time because each and every one of you play an important role in helping, as Maurice talked about, adding to that collective wisdom. And so I want to just thank you in advance. Before, with the time that we do have, want to just kind of talk and share some next steps. And also, if folks would have some feedback, can also aid us as we continue to think about how we can continue to make this as engaging, as informative, as helpful to everyone that's participating. The first thing I would just, in terms of next, is just know that this is a series, and so look forward to you coming to one or all or some of them. They're not mandatory. You can drop in, you can tell other colleagues about it. It's not one of those things where if someone didn't sign up and you go back and you say, man, we really had fun in the Dream Lab. That's the place to be. Then please, the more the merrier. You do have to register so we can kind of give some thought to how we may want to facilitate the conversation. But other than that, we would love for the group to continue to grow and for other voices to add to that collective knowledge. The other thing we ask is that you reflect on the sessions, that the power comes not just from the conversation, but the reflection that comes after it. For many of us that do this work, we know that's kind of a hallmark, a best practice of what we do. And we don't want to just talk about it, but we actually want to embody that as well. And so I encourage you to reflect and see if there's something from these sessions, questions, even if they were not necessarily answers, but questions that have come up that help you think about the work so that we begin to really move it from a place of dreaming to a place of reality. And then the other thing that I would encourage you to do too in terms of next steps is to think about what are topics, what are things that we can that you can share to the group. One of the things we're thinking about, as I alluded to earlier, is having a space for us to share other materials, other things that we can all collectively pull from. And so I'm hoping that today there are authors, there's books, there's journals, there's podcasts, there just whatever you think. It does evidence and materials don't have to look in one particular form. It could be a poem. Let me just go that far. Some of you may like this poem really speaks to me. This may be used in a class. It may be something that brings you joy or something. So we really want to think outside the box and not limit ourselves. Sometimes in academic spaces, we tend to put a hierarchy on learning. Uh, and so we want to open up that box as well so people can really think creatively. So think about what that could be. And we are all available. So please reach out to any of the facilitators that you saw. We're happy to take feedback, thoughts, questions, input. We would really want this to be a process by which we all are helping each other to dream. So I want to just share that. As we close, we have two minutes or so from my count left. If you feel free, if you had one thing that really spoke to you today, or one takeaway, one thing that you will, if you could drop that in the chat, that would be awesome as well. Or if you want to come off mute and just share one thing or two that really spoke to you, we'll greatly appreciate it. And as we do that, my co-facilitators, is there anything you all would like to add before we close our first session of many?
Just thanks for joining today, and we will have lots of opportunities for conversations moving forward. So if you have ideas for conversations and kind of what this means to you, if this sparks anything, let us know and we can incorporate it into the weeks ahead.
I would also like maybe to create like a resource for all of us. James mentioned books, articles, podcasts. I think it'd be awesome if we think about like in a sphere of dreaming, if we could share some resources and maybe, start dreaming together through some shared readings or something like that.
Awesome. Well, just in case no one told you, I don't know if your students have or anybody else in your family or friends, you are awesome. And you should just take that with you the rest of the day and throughout the week. Don't let nobody tell you otherwise. Uh, Dreaming is awesome, and we need more of it. And thank you for being courageous enough to dream, because the world changes when we dream. Much love, much love, much love, and have a good rest of your day and have an even better start to your week. Look forward to seeing you in the future. Dream on.